Ooh, the most above average podcast in the galaxy.
Turn the light off, like your memory
Welcome back to the most above average podcast in the galaxy. Like always, I am your host, Coach Eric. Unfortunately, Josh has his big boy job and could not be with us today again. Hopefully, in the near future, we will be able to steal him away from making money and come jibber jabber with us. Today's episode is brought to you by V&G Research, your home for all of your peptide and research chemical needs, the home of Retta. Like everyone keeps asking for, Retta, it's there. Discount code LORE. Now, something that we have not done previously, we're going to talk about the coaching. Now, everyone's always talking, how come you're retiring from professional powerlifting coaching? Simple answer is, it just got boring. We got tired of winning everything. After you get all-time world records, national records, it just got boring winning. It's not hard making people strong. So we decided that 2026 was going to be the final year for powerlifting coaching. So if you are looking to be the strongest human you've ever thought possible, this is your time. Secondly, something that we've never done before, just for this podcast only, and you have to reference this podcast. If you are interested in bodybuilding coaching in all of the divisions, doesn't matter whether it's fit model, bikini, wellness, physique, classic bodybuilding, open bodybuilding, 212, amateur, professional, it doesn't matter. We excel at all of those. For this podcast only, your first month, 50% off. Make sure that you reference this when you either send the company an email or you send us a DM on Instagram at Lore Fitness, Lore Fitness. Now, today, we're talking about a lot of bodybuilding stuff today. We are joined by my dear friend, Mrs. Noelle Tuman. Thank you very much for joining us today. We've known each
Thank you
other
for having me.
for years. And you know, when you meet people and it's just something clicks and you're like, they're just good people. From the first show I went to yours, the first show of yours that I went to, you could just feel that it's a different vibe with Spectrum. You know, and I'm so blessed that I get to travel the world and I get to meet all sorts of cool people. But there's something special about Spectrum shows that everyone just feels like family. Even, it doesn't matter whether it's a small show, a big show, everyone is there and they're so supportive. And there's something that's so special about that because it doesn't happen everywhere else. You know, you might meet some
True.
people that are very, supportive and they're good people, but it doesn't have that family sense. So I'm really glad that we were able to make this schedule work because I want to hear the story. But I don't think a lot of people know your story. You're a competitive athlete. We're going to talk about how you got into being a promoter, but take us back. How long have you been an athlete? And where did it start? What was your first endeavor into being athletic?
I think it was my dad. I really do. My father was not quite like the wrestler's dad that we just saw that movie about, the whatever, the claw. My dad wasn't quite like that, but he was very, very strategic, and he pushed you and wanted you to be successful. I mean, he was very successful, self-made. From the start, he was in the Air Force, and he just gravitated upwards with his work ethic. And I think with my dad, it was always about work ethic. You know, Noel, on Saturdays, you and my brother and I, we got up at the same time as school days. We had certain expectations. You had to earn your fun. And my dad was like, if you play a sport, Noel, you got to be all in. I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you with your nutrition. So one of the sports I picked was, obviously, I loved running. I just loved running back then. I don't know why. I loved it, and I took to it. And I would get up in the morning, eat my food. My dad would meet me, and I would go run 5 miles. In the countryside. We lived in the country. I was a country girl, and I don't know, I just being outdoors and feeling that adrenaline, and I just love that. So I put that into sports in school, and I ran the 1500. and I loved that. I never went to state for it, but I pursued it and I worked hard for it. It was competitive, not as competitive as it is now. Now it's like a sprint. But I loved that sport and I felt strong and I felt empowered. And I think that it gave me autonomy, like something I could control. I could work out. It was on me, the discipline factor. So I love that. Like I was a very disciplined student. I loved to study. And so I think it just kind of fell in with my personality. And then I don't know, when we were at the farm, my dad was always like, "You guys need to go buck hay." Buck hay was a big thing. And the season of bucking hay was like hard. And you're around all these big guys and they're throwing the hay around. I'm like, I want to be like that. I don't know. Something in me was like, I just want to be strong like that. So I decided to join a club and I had to drive like 30 minutes into the country, into Newberg, Oregon, which was, little small city. But the guy running that little tiny club was a bodybuilder. Like he had been to the big leagues, and he had pictures of himself and the women he trained. And I was like, dang, like that is super cool, I mean, because just that strength factor. I feel like the strength factor when I was young meant so much to me. Because, we all struggle when we're growing up. You feel insecure, you feel picked on, you feel this or that. But when you become strong, all of a sudden the pieces kind of go together. And when I started working out and like but what wasn't bodybuilding, I was just going there to train. I just wanted to lift weights. Like you said, I wanted to be strong. I used to bench press 200 pounds. I worked up to that. It wasn't easy. I squatted 300 pounds with good form, and I just wanted to learn how to be strong. I felt I needed that strength in my life. And I was a stepchild. My dad was my stepfather, but he was very driven. So, if we were going to do something, you had to be all in. So I had that mindset of, okay, if I'm going to lift weights, when I need to be all in, like I need to have some goals. There was no show in my mind, none of that stage time in my mind at all. It was all about getting strong, having strength, and being competitive in sports in high school. Because, let's face it, if you're going to be in sports in high school, especially now, it's way different. But back then, for me, it was like, you got to be able to, be in there with the big guys. Some of the girls are just gifted. I wasn't exactly gifted. I could shoot in basketball. That was my second sport, but I wasn't like best at dribbling or anything like that. But I wanted to be strong. Like I figured if I could be strong, I could do that sport and hold my head up. You know what I mean? Like, because my brother was an athlete and he was just Mr. You know, he did everything right. Played football. He was very much a superstar, but I wasn't really looking for the superstar stardom. I was just looking for a way to have fun and be athletic and feel that strength that I felt was necessary in my life.
When you got into lifting, and obviously, you're doing it at the time just for the pure love of it. Did you
Yeah.
ever find a spot early on where it felt stagnant, where you're like, I just feel like I'm doing the same thing? Or was the fire always there and you were like, I just love it so much that's nothing can deter me from this?
That is the truth. I mean, I wish I could go back. It's hard to keep hold of that. I feel like, yes, every time I went there, I was so pumped up. The people there was women that were super fit. And I was like, man, I was jacked. Like to be there was like my happy place. I really honestly just loved it. I loved lifting so much. I mean, I can't even describe like looking forward to that 30-minute drive and getting there and watching these other people. It just was really inspiring to me. Like, I felt like, wow, this is who I want to be. I want to be strong. I want to have goals. And it wasn't so much, yes, I was impressed with how they looked. I always loved Arnold Schwarzenegger, of course. I loved Corey Everson. Rachel McLish was like my number one. Like, I thought she was the most beautiful thing on earth. And I wanted to feel not just the beauty. I think when you're young, I was a tomboy, so I wasn't cute really. I had glasses and braces, and I was very much, yeah, you wouldn't see me, you wouldn't look twice at me on the street. But when I started lifting, I realized, hey, I'm pretty good. I'm a human. I can develop myself my own way. I don't have to fall into a certain type of square box. I can be who I want to be. And when I'm lifting, I felt that autonomy. I never felt stagnant because I always had a goal. Like whether it was to squat 300 pounds, then it was to squat 310. If it was to, I always set the bar because that was my life. My dad was like that, like set a bar, keep going for it. I remember when I wanted to do pull-ups, and that was a big deal. I saw a girl doing pull-ups, and I was so inspired. I was like, damn, I want to do that. And I was 30, I think I was almost 30, 28, 29, 30. I was like, I'm going to do that. So every day I'd go to that dumb bar and I'd stand underneath it. I go, I'm pulling myself up today. And it took a lot. Like, I'm saying, like, it didn't happen overnight. And when it did happen, even just one, I was like, this is crazy. Like, you can do anything with your body and your mind if you put it all together, you know? And so after that, I got into fitness. Like, then I was like, well, I love lifting and I love helping people. Why don't I, start training people and just helping out at the club? I did classes. I would take clients that people didn't have enough time for, and I just run them through how to work the equipment. I didn't really, it wasn't a big deal. It was just really just me like helping people that felt helpless in the gym.
You said something about finding your way and, you know, staying in your own thing. You didn't have to conform to a different box. Building
Hmm.
that self-esteem from the ground up on your own. There's something about the fitness industry that when people figure out that you don't need to conform to them, that you can make your own wake. Oh my
Yep.
goodness. The world is
It,
your oyster. Because once you
it's life
realize that
changing.
you make yourself happy and you have that drive and that discipline, the only thing stopping you from achieving what you want is you.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, you're always gonna have obstacles. Like, my parents hated me going to the gym. They're like, my dad was like, "Why are you going to the gym? You can lift weights on the farm. I'll give you some weights to lift." I mean, but I felt, I wanted something for myself that I could call my own. My brother was very, like I said, very the athlete in the family, and I wanted something I could say, "I'm good at this." And I'm good at it, and I don't have to compete with anybody to be good at it. I can just be good, you know? And I think for young women, especially lifting, it gives you that empowerment mentally, the discipline. I mean, it just gives you so much clarity and you can get that stress out. And if you can carry on with weight training, you'll utilize that your whole life. Like you'll go to the bar and say, I'm going to squat today because I need to get some stuff out of my system.
Yeah,
you
getting that
know?
emotional release is so crucial. And you know, I've got two daughters. My oldest one is 12, and this is the time where she's like, I want you to train me. I want to be like one of your athletes. I was like, I want you to
Hmm.
do it for you. Like, is this something you want to do, or is this just something that you think that you want to do because it'll give you bonding time with me? Because those are different things.
Probably both.
Right. And she goes,
Hmm.
no, I want abs. Like, I want to look like one of these like superheroes. I was like, hell yeah. I didn't say that because I don't show her a lot of the athlete pictures of, you know, who I'm working with and what I do because I don't want to generate body dysmorphia in a child.
Oh, totally.
And
Yes,
so,
completely.
but she'll see the live streams if we can't make it to a show, or we'll watch the Olympia and whatnot. And she's like, wow, like they're just gorgeous. And so having that idea of anything is possible. And now she sees that, okay, if I'm really good about my water intake, my food is consistent. She notices a
Hmm.
difference at 12 years old. If you can notice the difference of, wow, well, like my body feels better, perfect. Like you are going to thrive in life. Now that you're so aware of what the impact that hydration and inflammation control can do, you're going to
Hmm.
be golden, kid. Going to be golden.
And I think that is a big problem with there's so much obesity in our children. And I think a lot of it is, parents are so busy, they don't have time to sit down and create the meals and do the things that they need to do. Like meal prepping for their child is, I mean, I make sure my son is, whether he eats or not, he has meals, he has like a protein bar in the morning. He eats something, I think it's just when I grew up on a farm, my mom made food from scratch every day and it was healthy, good food, and it was like good fuel for your body. Like you could feel, hey, this is good. We never went out for fast food until I was in high school. And even then, I wasn't a big, it didn't do anything for me. I think kids nowadays just think, fast food is the way to go. It's easy. Mom and dad just drop me by. Plus, it's economical because the food's expensive right now. I took my older son, to the gym when he was 13. And like you, it was kind of like he watched me do competitions. He's like, Mom, how do I get that six pack? And I really want to train. And I'm like, okay, well, like you, I was like, well, I don't know how I feel about this because you're kind of young. But then I thought, well, you know what? Now's a good time. I started when I was 15. So got him in there and we lifted together. We had some fun and laughs. And he realized that, he was the type of kid that would eat the vegetables over the fudge. Like if there was fudge on the table with a salad, he'd eat that salad. And so I feel like some of my habits kind of wore off on him now, or even now he was a Marine for 4 years. Um, he has children of his own and he still works out and he still eats pretty clean. He's not a big garbage gut. He's pretty good about, yeah, I don't eat a lot of sweets, and he'll tell you that, "Mom, don't make me a cake. I'm not really into that," and so I really respect that he grew up knowing. I think the bodybuilding side, it's very extreme, our diet sometimes as it gets down to the end. But I think it's good for kids to understand that what you put in your body is ultimately how you're gonna feel, how you're gonna create energy, and how you're gonna keep your health the rest of your life.
Yeah. I do a lot of fertility protocol work for a lot of people,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
someone had brought forth this really interesting information. And there used to be the thoughts that trauma could be passed down generationally, that you could, you set yourself up for failure, but also it parlays into the next generation. And so they did
Uh-huh.
this really interesting study with rats. They took a controlled group of rats, some over here, some over there, and the ones on the other side, they would ring a bell and the floor was, they would electrocute the floor. So they'd ring the bell,
Ooh.
they'd zap them, and then the mice would jump. And this went on for, I forgot, however many weeks. Then they put all the mice together in one area. They mated. They took the babies, put them in a separate cage that had never heard the bell during the pregnancy, anything like that. They rang the bell
Mhm.
and the baby mice jumped. So that trauma was able to transition down to the next generation.
That's crazy.
So when I tell people, they're like, "Oh, I want to go through the fertility stuff. I want to grow the family. Like these are great things, but making sure that you and your significant other are in the right headspace too, because the food that you feed yourself during that process dramatically changes the way that that baby develops." And so when we deal with a
Mhm.
lot of the fertility stuff, one of the biggest things that I try to focus on with people is making sure that they are in a good, calm state of mind. Because if you and your significant other are calm people, it translates over almost every single time that that baby is also going to be a very calm individual. So
Mhm.
thinking about things long term for stuff like that really makes a big difference.
And I had a baby at 48, and I never dreamt in the world I would do that. um, but I'm so grateful I did, and I didn't have to do any fertility, didn't have to do anything. And I think a lot of it, like you said, gravitates towards how my health was all my life. My mom told me that my real dad, his mom was overweight, and she said you're probably going to deal with that your whole life. So I took that on as, well, I better work out, I better learn to eat right, I better, learn to, eat properly so that I'm not going to gain all this weight and become that person. So early on in my life, I took that on. So when I went to the doctor and said, hey, I think I want to get pregnant, he didn't look at me like, oh, what? He said, no, I think you're optimum. He goes, I think that your health is optimum. He goes, there's nothing wrong with having a baby later in life. He said, there may be some complications, which I did have some. But, I think the healthier you are, the more you can take on. Like you said, stress, being calmer. I think our world is so stressful, especially right now. And everybody's stressed out over the economy, over just a lot of different things. And so my calm and my peace has always been, of course, my family. But lifting weights has really helped that. John and I lift together, and it's amazing. It's like if you can lift with your spouse, it's like a whole partnership thing. It's fun. So,
I used to really enjoy lifting with my wife, but we train so differently. She is she's like, "I want 10, 15-second, rest periods and just go, go, go." I'm like,
mhm.
"Lady, you got to give me a solid 60 seconds. I'm huffing and puffing over here."
I hear you on that one. I'm a minute girl for sure.
She was like, "Well, you lift the entire building, so you need more time to break." And I'm like, "Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell your friends."
Right? Okay, Hercules will be your nickname, you know what I mean? But it is true, like, Johnny lifts a lot more weight than I do, and I'll usually do a couple sets to his one. He's training a little differently now that he's older, of course. When I met him, he did side lateral dumbbells with 80 pounds, and I'll never forget that, and he did them good. Like, I was like, "Jeez, that is such good form. How do you do that?"
Yeah, there's something fun about being strong.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. I mean, I used to press 70s over my head, and I can't do that now, 70-pound
Yeah.
dumbbells. And I think back to like how hard that was, but also how easy it was. Once I got it up there, it was fine, but I had to work up to that. And I think, again, that goes back to the journey. It's like the journey of life and everything. The journey to getting strong, it just takes time, and you have to have patience, and you have to develop your stabilizers. Because there was no way I could do that with my stabilizers being, not
Yeah.
strong, not inefficient, really. So people have to understand that, like, people like you that train people, it's a journey that you have to strategically learn, or else you're going to injure yourself. And I never have had a weightlifting injury.
Yeah,
So
yeah, knock on wood.
exactly.
So, okay, before we jump into all the bodybuilding and promoter stuff, this is a really interesting question. You've been training for a number of years, and your training has
Since I was 15.
I'm sure your training style has evolved over the years too. But I see a lot of people that are, they're like, "Oh, I see that the bodybuilding shows they have masters divisions. That sounds appealing. Like, I feel like I'm in a good spot mentally, at 45, but I just don't feel like I can push my body as hard." I know when
Hmm.
I retired from being a gigantic super freak and doing all the crazy weights that I did, it was really
Hmm.
hard to go in there and squat and know that I wasn't going to do 700 pounds.
Yeah.
What What would do you ever fall into that when you go to the gym and you're like, "Man, like, I used to do those 70-pound dumbbells for shoulder press, but today I'm getting my ass handed to me at 30 pounds."
Well, I've learned to train smarter. I really think that as you age, and people say age is a number, but I'm not necessarily in agreement with that. I feel like, every 10 years of your life, and especially when you hit 40, your body is trying to get rid of the muscle quickly. So I feel like you have to adjust your mindset to, yeah, I can live in the past or I can live in the future. I have to live in the future because my body says my joints can't handle 200 pounds anymore. I listen to my body, and I regulate it through good knowledge, good help, your help and the masterminds out there and all the info. We live in an information wonderland now where you can get all sorts of amazing thought processes that you can buy into. Like, I know for me, for the longest time, I was like a power lifter, bodybuilder. I was like, "Woo, get in there, get it." Then I learned that I wanted to do reformer. I wanted to do Pilates because I used to be a gymnast when I was a kid. So I used to be able to do the Russian splits because I was a cheerleader. I'd jump right down to those Russian splits. But then I knew as I got older, I was like, damn, I'm not working on my flexibility anymore. So I got my certification through Stott Pilates, and I learned how to do the Pilates reformer. And it was hard for me to buy into that because I never was a mind body girl. I was more of the power. I was like I want to be strong, Like, I don't understand Pilates. So then I learned Pilates, and I realized that we all need to be smart about our usage of time because I don't have unlimited time like you. I've got a 12-year-old, and so we have to mastermind our time. And I realized that, okay, Noelle, you need strength, you need flexibility, and you also just need to have a clarity of mind. Like when I met you and you said you like to go and find a space to be in and just decompress,
Oh, me
I
me
really
time. Yeah.
respected that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I respected that because I'm trying to teach my child that, like, we're gonna take him to the John Muir Woods because I feel like kids don't get enough nature these days. But I just really respected you for just going to the beach and just hanging out, and I think that's such a I think balance, and I've said it a lot, and a lot of people don't agree with me about this, but to me, balance in life is really, really, really critical.
Yeah.
I think balance, not letting something overcome you, not letting it be your god.
Yeah, especially when you have a family, everyone, you, your significant other, even your kids need time away from you because too much of a good
Yes.
thing can turn into a bad thing. You're going to feel suffocated. You're going to feel overwhelmed. And when you get to the point where you're spread too thin, that's when people snap. And that's not healthy for
Yeah,
anyone. And, you might have an emotional blowout and you come back 10 minutes later. I'm really sorry. The damage is done. You can't take those words back. So it's
I believe
really,
that strongly,
yeah, it's
yes.
very, very important. And I try to imply that to everyone's bit of coaching that I work with is you got to find what I describe as me time. And me time could either be a place or it could be an activity, something that you do by yourself. Like for me, I have a particular spot that I don't bring anyone to. I don't bring my wife, I don't bring my kids. It is just for me to go there and turn my brain off. Uh,
Mhm.
and you need that alone time. Like I used
Yeah,
to love, and I still love doing this. I don't do it as much anymore just because when you own and operate three different businesses, you just don't have the time. I love
of
just
course, yeah.
getting in the car with no rhyme or reason and just driving. And then I would stop whenever I either needed to pee or I needed gas. Then I would pull out my phone, figure out where a gym is in the nearby area. And even if it was a small little rinky dink thing that, was maybe 800 square feet, perfect. We were going to go try something new, get out of our comfort zone, and just do something different. Those little
I
mini
love that.
adventures really
Mhm.
translate into long-term happiness. And I was going to bring this up later, but I'll parlay into it now. I'm 36. I think a realistic number, I could make it to 76. That gives me, most people would say, oh, you have 40 years of life left. 40 years sounds like a good amount. I don't
Mhm.
have 40 years. I have 40 winters. I have 40 summers. And when you break it
Mhm.
down to that and you get rid of the sticker shock, you realize really quick on how quickly you want to make sure that every day is an adventure and that you're not going to waste your time on people that are not growing with you. It's very simple. People either grow with you or
Yeah.
away from you. There's nothing in the middle. So
Yeah.
make every day your own adventure and make it count. Because if you sit
I
there and you
agree.
think about it and you're like, oh shit, I only have 20 summers left. Yeah, you're going to want to go and do some cool stuff today.
I think about that because 'cause I'm 60, and I think about it a lot. Like, I remember when we threw my mom's 60th birthday party. I mean, I'm like, I definitely think about that, and I'm like a big Halloween. I love Halloween, so I think of how many more Halloweens am I gonna have, like, you know? And also my son, I had my son so late in life that I know I won't be able to be there his whole life. So John and I have these conversations about, let's train him so he can get through life without us. 'Cause that will be a reality. We don't know how many days we get.
Yeah. I mean, and that's always an uncomfortable conversation to have with children, and I've explained it to my daughter too. Like, look, I travel a lot. I don't know, who knows? Something bad could happen in the airplane. I don't know. And there's going to be a time regardless even if I travel safely that I'm not going to be here. My job as a
Yeah.
parent and my job as a coach, my goal is to make you better than me in every
Yes.
fashion.
Mhm.
That's the goal. I want you to be smarter. I want you to make more money. I want you to be more respected amongst your peers.
Mhm.
I have I
Happy.
have 3 very simple rules to life. Be a good person, don't do harm to your neighbor, make your own money. If you can achieve those 3, you're going to have a great life because you're going to realize really quick that you don't need someone else to make you happy. You want to share your life with someone. But the moment
Mhm.
that you start becoming dependent upon someone is the moment you start withering away.
Yeah. And I think too with that, like, I always tell Rustam, with the kindness is free, and give that kindness out every day. because don't hold back. If you see someone is doing something or you like something, tell them. Don't hold it back. Don't hold it in because there's not enough kindness in the world. And then I tell him, and we work on this a lot, and I save a lot of stuff in my phone that I'm going to keep for him, like how to manage people, learn to deal with people, learn how to get along with all kinds of people. You don't have to master them, just learn how to interact with them. If you come across somebody and he gets bullied a little bit at school, and I'm like, well, let's figure out how what are some steps we can utilize to get through this? Because I've had it all. I mean, I'm 60. I've been through a lot, and I think that if you can master people in your life that God puts in your life for whatever reason, you will obtain anything you want.
And he has such a great front row seat to seeing every kind of person known to man.
Yes, he
Because
does.
he's there for all the shows. He's there for, the athlete check-ins. He's there for the athletes meetings. He's there for the awards. He sees, I mean, there's no doubt about it. There's some kooky people in our industry for sure.
Yeah, he sees the doctors, the lawyers, then he also sees the beach bums and
Yeah.
you know, I mean, it is an eclectic society that we have in bodybuilding. And that's what I love so much about it because I love people and I love their stories because you know that. I love chatting with people. Everybody has a story and I love that. And whether your story is, yeah, I grew up on the beach or yeah, I grew up and I went to Ivy League school, everybody's got these cool stories that like everybody's got a different path, and it's so cool to see how those paths intersect and our bodybuilding shows, who we meet. And like, I love interviewing people on stage because I love to hear, yeah, I'm a doctor, a nurse, or no, I'm a stay at home mom, I have 6 kids. You know, all the stories are just so compatible and make us realize that we're on this earth together and we all have different, patterns and things we're following, but we're all the same, you know?
Yeah, bodybuilding is just, I've said it for years and I'll say it till I die. Bodybuilding has given me the most beautiful life. And I get to travel the world with my friends. I get to meet all sorts of cool people. I get to do fun stuff like this. I
Hmm.
mean, everyone's backgrounded. And somehow we all found this same love for eating boring ass chicken and doing cardio.
But your tips for finding food made me laugh because I love that because I'm like that too. Like, okay, is there Whole Foods around? Where are we gonna find food? Foraging. Like, if we go to Disneyland, it's not. Well, we'll eat the food down there. No, I have to take. I take a cooler. I take food that's good. So yeah, maybe we'll have a hamburger or something, but we're gonna interchange it with the healthy
Yeah.
foods. I mean, it's about I don't know. I always have food. I mean, if somebody ever needs food, you can just come find me because I'll always have it.
We we have a 2-hour drive from our normal day-to-day house to our house in Tahoe. It's a 2-hour drive.
Yeah.
You would think we
Wow.
were going to go live off of grid in that 2-hour when we packed to go to our house. And I asked my wife, like,
I
what are
love
we
it.
bringing all this stuff for? Our gigantic SUV is completely filled with people, with dogs, and we've got the storage thing on the top. I'm like, we cannot fit any more crap in here. She's like, well, hang on, I need rice cakes and beef jerky. No, no, we don't.
My husband's like that too. He's like, Noelle, like every show. I mean, if we're not flying, because flying's a whole different thing, but when we travel to the shows, it's like that, Eric. I mean, I'm like, okay, I got a list now. We got the coffee pot, we got the coffee, special coffee, not, I gotta have my coffee. All the things, and then my son has to all have all these things, and then Johnny's not picky, he'll eat anything, but I'm like, "Okay, yes, check egg whites, check oatmeal, check all the things that I need." Vegetables, you can't find a vegetable when you're on vacation, like, it's hard, right? I mean, I'm sure it's hard for you to find a salad maybe, but, like, vegetables cooked is tough.
Oh yeah, well, and and you've traveled to Pittsburgh to compete. I don't know what it is about going to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. When there's bodybuilding shows, you can't find cream of rice, you can't find rice cakes. We drove like 6 or 7 miles out of like main downtown. With
Mhm.
Pittsburgh, their roads are not super friendly, so you were way out
No.
there. They didn't exist. And it's like
Mhm.
when if you're a competitive athlete, you have to really think about the stuff that you're bringing with you. And can you get getting chicken and rice is relatively straightforward. You can get that pretty much anywhere. But if you need some specialty stuff, bring it, ship it. I always
Yeah.
tell people, like, if you get Airbnb, find the address, mail whatever it is to yourself. It saves you a lot of hassle.
Mhm. And a lot of people now I'm hearing from last year are doing the Airbnb versus the hotel because, like you said, I mean, you can Uber food. I had a disaster problem with Ubering food when I was there because I think I needed some of the things you had on my list, and they just they were like,
Can't find
"Well,
it.
scratch
Yeah.
that," we're not getting that, and like you said, like finding a restaurant after the event, forget it. Like you better just have something in your room because you will never find a restaurant there. All the restaurants have not they've suffered COVID, so they're all like closing at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
It's a thing, and I love Pittsburgh. I love it, but I'm telling you, I feel you on that. I feel like it's so difficult to. I don't know. It's just it's in the food in the venue. Like I love Gary to death, and it's awesome that he puts that on. But I feel like the pricing was a little higher this year on that. Like a steak was a lot. I mean, it was if you're a bodybuilder, God bless you. you know, like if you got to eat 5 of those a day, oh my gosh, my pocketbook's drained.
Yeah. I mean, we have a gentleman who's a professional baseball player. He, he told me not to say his name publicly because it's kind of a big deal, but uh, he travels a lot. He goes, "Oh, I'm going to be off. I'm going to be off diets because we have spring training." I'm like, that.
Hmm.
That's not it. No, that's not happening. I said, "Where are you going?" He tells me where he's going. I'm like, "Do they have a Walmart there?" He goes, "Yeah." I was like, "Perfect." Walmart has pre-cooked chicken. It's $6 a pound. It's like, get microwave rice, get microwave potatoes. They got those little baby reds, 5 minutes in the microwave. Does your
Hmm.
room have a microwave?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
perfect. You can stay on meal 1000%.
and Walmart will deliver it to you too.
I see, I live in the middle of nowhere. Walmart will not deliver where I live.
Oh, they won't.
No.
Yeah, we
I'm
get
a
them. They're right down the
35
street.
minute drive to the nearest anything.
Oh wow, good for you. That's great.
It When you come back from, New Jersey, you really love living out in the country.
Oh yeah. I agree. I mean, I love New York. I love visiting places like that, but I don't think I could live in New York. One thing, I couldn't afford it, but two, I just don't think I think it would kind of stress me out. I feel like I would always be on an adrenaline high.
The, for those of you who've never been out to New Jersey, the roads just don't make any sense. I love East Coast people. I love East Coast mentality. If you're an idiot, they will tell you you're an idiot to your face. And I love the brutal
Yeah.
honesty. But if you're trying to drive around, especially like when we go from Edgewater, Teaneck, anything like that, you're residential, freeway, back to residential. And the
Yeah,
roads just don't make any logical sense.
you're right about that.
So
And then if you got to get across the bridge, forget it. I mean, you better have planned for that.
yeah, if you rent a car, get get the little toll box thing that they offer for $19 cuz I didn't, thinking, "Oh, like I'm not going to cross any tolls." $47 later in 2 days.
Oh, yeah. It gets you.
Yeah.
That's smart. That's just how do they get how do you get those? I always just Uber when I'm back there, but
Oh, I spent $300 in Lyft the first time I went there because there's no
oof.
real easy way to navigate through that part of Jersey over by Teaneck.
Mm-mm. No.
So when you rent a car, there doesn't matter whether you get it from Hertz, any of those companies, they will offer you the toll box. It's a flat fee, whatever it is, $19 or something like that, and it just covers
Mhm.
all of the tolls. Otherwise, they'll send
That's
you a
so
bill
smart.
later once they get the bills. No bueno.
Wow.
Yeah.
No bueno, because that can be really ugly. Like if your grocery store is over a bridge, which sometimes they are,
Yeah.
you could be back and forth a lot.
Yeah, and I made the mistake. I thought I was like, "Oh, my business is doing really good. I'm going to splurge. I'm going to rent something that I've never driven before." So I rented a Tesla and I was like, "This is going to be great."
Oh.
I had to
Mhm.
charge the car every day and to go over that bridge every day. So I was getting hit with the toll plus the Tesla charging. And it was just, one, and then you're sitting there for 30 minutes. You're like, well, I guess I might as well go into the store. And then you buy stuff that you don't need. You're like, man,
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
this bodybuilding show is really costing me a lot of money to be here.
Right. When you start taking off all the costs and all the, yeah, I mean, it can. I mean, we take the family, like when we took the family over to Pittsburgh last year, I mean, it was significantly higher than years past. I felt like every little niche food in the airport was more, a coffee was more, the Ubering obviously was much more expensive.
Yeah.
I felt like even like when we did the Uber Eats, I felt like, it wasn't the same.
No, everything's just expensive now. It's, I feel like, well, back in my day,
I know, right? The stories of walking through the snow 3 miles to go to the grocery store and
uphill both ways.
yes. Sweat dripping off my brow. My dad was all about he loved to just, like, make stories just sound much worse, but he lived through the Depression, so there was some bad in there, but I respect the fact I think that's what made him such a s his mettle was so strong, his mindset was so, like, gun ho, like, my husband's just really he'd been through some stuff, and it shaped him as a human.
Yeah, I've noticed that the people that have gone through hardship, not only obviously they have a much greater appreciation for the things that they have earned, but they stay mentally sharper longer. People that
Yeah,
live
I would
relatively
agree with
sedentary
that.
lives, you start seeing them, their brain starts turning to mush. And they're like, oh, drink like 500 milligrams of caffeine a day. Like that, you probably should make some life choices.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, I think everything's becoming easy. Like we watched The Terminator last night because I love that show. But the reason why I wanted to watch it is because like our world is evolving into that a little bit. Like especially Terminator 2. We were watching it last night. I'm like, this could be happening. And people are getting lazy because they want everything to be automated and done for them. People, I want a robot in my house. So you don't want to clean your house anymore? Well, that's steps lost. What are you going to do? How are you going to get those steps back?
Oh yeah. You know this. You feel good when you're productive.
Yes.
Because we live out in the middle of nowhere. So you legitimately have to drive to go do anything.
Mm-hmm.
But when we go and like now that, the kids are, doing more and whatnot, I take my wife with me on a lot of these work trips. And then,
Oh, okay.
especially like when
That's
we go to
nice.
Vegas, she was like, "Yeah, go do your naked people stuff. I'll be at the pool." So,
I love that. But she's just doing her thing, having fun. That's cool. But you're together,
yeah,
which is nice.
but we try to pick places like now thankfully I'm at this position where I'll just pick shows that I want to go to because I'm a fan of the sports, and I say, "Okay,
Yeah.
these are the shows that I want to do." And then I just
Mm-hmm.
put athletes in those shows.
Yeah.
And so we try to pick places that we've either never been or we know that's like a good time. Like when we go to Pittsburgh, we just love walking around everywhere. So like we would rent a
Yeah.
place like in the south side of town where like all the bars are and whatnot because then you're close
Mm-hmm.
to the grocery store and you can just walk and you just feel good. You feel productive. Your lymphatic system's moving around. You're like, oh yeah, like we're having a good day. When you just sit in an airplane, you sit in a car and you're like, ugh, it just feels so sluggish.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And I think people as a society right now, I think they're getting sluggish. Like the newer generations, the expectations, like for one thing, I have really great work ethic. I've been told that. And it's because of my dad. I mean, absolutely. I mean, he got us up early in the morning. He got us moving. We had a purpose. And I kept that vision my whole life. Like, no matter what I've done, working at UPS, yeah, it's not the easiest job or the funnest job at times, but I keep focused. Like, I know at the end of the day, I want to have my space clean. I want to walk away feeling like I did the job no matter what it is I do. I'm like that. I just feel like even hitting the gym, how do I feel about my workout? What can I do in hitting it next time? Have a little better mindset, be more aware, be in the moment. But I think that that is something that, everybody wants to have someone else do it for them now, and they don't want to show up to work, and they don't there's a lot of complaint if someone asks for the extra effort, where the extra effort in my world was just expected.
I want to parlay into the promoter side of things, but
Okay.
I want to make sure that people understand that Northern California bodybuilding scene is really, really special. When you go to other states, and everyone's got their own little vibe.
Yeah, every
Yeah.
production. Yep.
But even just the people there too. But there's something really special. There's a big difference between Northern California bodybuilding scene and Southern California bodybuilding scene. And it doesn't have anything to do with the promoters in that aspect. It's just the people. Northern
Mhm.
California bodybuilding fans are such diehard people. They live,
Yeah.
they breathe it, they show up. I don't think I've been to more prejudging and seen packed prejudging than Northern California. You go to
Yeah.
shows back east, you go to shows in San Diego, and there's, like the guy's girlfriend and maybe, one of their parents is there at the prejudging. It's pretty empty.
Mhm.
Prejudging in Northern California is bumping, but it's always been that
Which
way. Like, I
yes.
remember when John Lindsay ran, Northern California stuff, everyone, the Contra Costa, that was the thing, shows went on till
Mhm.
sometimes midnight.
1 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
picking up. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
walk us through that because John Lindsay was kind of, the Northern California staple. And then he stepped down. And then shows just kind of went a little bit different because we had Muscle Sport for a little bit, and
Mhm.
then we have Spectrum. How did all of this come about, and how did you get into the mix with all of this?
A lot of the story is really not mine because I wasn't really in the bodybuilding when John Lindsay was, head of all of California. Um, I do know that I'm blessed to have Ted as my partner because Ted, after John Lindsay kind of stepped out, Ted became the state representative. They have all these. Every state has a NPC IFBB Pro League representative, and they kind of run the state. They're kind of in charge of making sure the shows run smooth. They can show up at the shows and make sure everybody's got an NPC card and just kind of, oversee stuff. They can judge. But that person is kind of like the go-to. Like if you want to run a show or you want to sanction, you kind of have to go through him. He moderates through himself through the Manions NPC IFBB Pro League to try to get something going. It all goes to your state representative, and then that goes to the main office. And so there's a lot of connections involved. For me, it was about, you know, I would say when I got into it, I met John, and I was a competitor, of course I was, but I also had my own gym, had my own business. So I would just show up. I loved bodybuilding. I was at that point I did a couple shows, but I only did shows to keep people inspired. Like I did one show a year and I was really quiet about it until the last week. And then when I took my shirt off and showed my abs, everyone in the gym was like, "Holy cow, you know, I want to do that." And I was like, "Well, okay, this is good. I want you to see this, but I want you to understand there's a lot of commitment involved." But I wanted people to see it because not too many people get the opportunity to actually, like we had Ashley at the last seminar, very few people get to see someone right before the Arnold like that. I mean, she was cut. I mean, she just looked fantastic. People's jaws dropped to the floor. And I love that because I feel like we need that inspiration in life. So I only did shows back then for that. One show a year, I did the Contra Costa, and I just did it for the wow factor in the gym. Like I wanted people to go, you know what? There's hope. You could start at any point in your life, but eating is the main factor. Because where I lived, partying was like Discovery Bay was a big party area,
Oh yeah.
and getting those people to stop drinking was like really tough. But hey, how bad do you want it? So I did shows like that. So we'll go back. So that's how I started. I met John, and John has been producing in him and Ted for 30 years at that point. They'd been the Sacramento was their show. They only had one. And it was like, okay, we all went, like you said, it was night show fun, everybody dressed up, prejudging, everybody had an opinion. I mean, it was very, you could sense the community, right? Like it was really, and I felt like that's where I felt like, wow, I feel this community. I love this place. Like I love how I feel when I'm here. So then John would have me like unbox trophies, which if you've ever unboxed trophies, I'm telling you right now, it is not fun. I mean, you had a knife, they're like in a in a big box with all these peanuts, and then you got to cut them open because they're strategically wrapped. And I mean, a lot of them would break, and I didn't even organize them at that point. I just undid them. So I'd have to say for me, learning the job from the ground, literally. I think, John realized my work ethic. And of course, we dated at some point at that, in that mixed area, but he started realizing that I showed up, I did the hard work, I kept my mouth shut, my head down, and I just worked hard. And he could tell when I first met him, I know this blew him away, but we were dating at the time and he was doing check-ins, and I don't know, I was just standing there, and I do this at UPS too. I'd stand at the door and I just greet people. And John told Ted, he's like, look at her. She's over there greeting people. Nobody does that. And I just was shaking everybody's hand. And because that's who I am. Like, I want people to understand that that's who I really am. Like, I do it at UPS. It was raining the other day. I stood outside the guard shack and said, hey, have a good night, everybody. Everybody. It's just that's innate in my personality. So John was blown by that. He's like, "I can't believe you did that." I'm like, "Why?" I love this. I love these people." So I think at that point, John and Ted only had that one show. And so then they built the Governor's Cup. That was the second show. And Ted was no longer the state chairman, but Sandy was involved in Texas and Nevada as chairperson. So people climb up the ladders and do different things in the background. But at the time, Tamer had bought all the Southern California shows from John Lindsay. So he was running SoCal. And so we only had those two shows. John had the Governor's Cup and the Sacramento. So we kept building. We added a couple more shows after that. And I think it's because John felt comfortable at that point, knowing that he had people had his back, had Ted's back. We all worked together really well, and we wanted more. We just wanted to have more bodybuilding shows, more opportunities, for people to get on a platform and just have fun. There's a lot of population up here, like you said, and they're very, very, they want to have shows. They want to be involved. They love to work out. So, after that, several years of just, like I said, unwrapping trophies. Then I helped Veronica Strank. She's a judge now, but in SoCal, and she helped me kind of get off the ground with learning the backstage of everything. She grew up doing it, so like she taught me a lot. She taught me how to organize the trophies, how to hand them out, how to train the people, and I think I've just gleaned a lot from other promoters. One of my favorites is Elaine Craig. She literally has been my mentor for a long time when it comes to promoting. I love her style. And from the minute I met her, I competed at her show. I said, that's the style we need to have. We need to be so encompassing that people want to come. I mean, Elaine had people coming back for until they were 90 years old, and so John and I kind of thought, well, okay, we're going to change the culture a little bit. And then we bought Muscle Sport, and Tamer helped us buy that. And in that transition, Tamer merged with us a little bit on a couple shows. So we kind of showed some community. I mean, it wasn't anything more than that. We just wanted to show that, hey, California, we can get along and we can, kind of work together so that we all feel comfortable in a state that has a lot of shows. So then John and I really got involved, and that's when I started stepping up and doing other things. John's been a judge, but he does a lot of the promoting. As you know, with training and the businesses you run, there's a lot of talking involved. Like, there's just a lot of communication. If you're not communicating properly, things just don't work out. And in the bodybuilding world, it's even crazier with like COVID. When COVID hit, it was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? We're like, we're not shutting down. I mean, we could lose our shows. If we shut those shows down, you could potentially have those shows taken away. So it was like it's a taboo, like never shut your show down. Like Tyler, they make that, this like, we would like to have the shows run. So John and I and Ted, we put our heads together and we found places, Tamer found hookah bars and we found outdoor venues. And we wanted to keep it going because For us, it's really truly about the passion for the athlete. I'm not an IFBB pro yet, but my heart is. And I think that's what makes me a little different than a lot of people is I don't feel like when I get that title, I'll be very happy and pleased that I got it. When I first started, I never thought about being a pro ever. Probably for 8 years into it, I just did it because I loved it. And then when I got into helping John at the shows, I was like, man, I really love showing up for this. I love just helping people. Ever since the last few years when I do all the check ins and I greet everybody, I shake their hand just like I did when I first started. And now I'm on that stage and I look into their eyes. And there's something about looking into people's eyes right before they get on that stage because I know how that feels. And the eyes of the windows to the soul. And you can feel that person's fear of, man, this is something I've never done. And I don't know if I can do it. And I like to just be that person that says, yes, you can.
When I bring athletes to your shows, and especially when we have people that are like, "Oh, I've never done a show before," your shows are always the one on the top of my list. I'm like, if you live in this area or you can make the commute for it, do this. Because when I give them the rundown of this is how a show is going to work, we're going to be together backstage. I'm going to help you through, the pump up process, explaining what expediters do. When we go to different shows and you see people out there in the clipboard and they're on the steps and backstage lining people up, there's probably realistically like 70% of the time, there's no personality. They're just looking at a clipboard, making sure that the number's there. Okay, go on.
Yeah.
I have so much video footage from me being in the audience, filming my people getting ready to go on stage. And I see you having a full conversation with them, and you can see their shoulders drop. All of their stress is just melted away in that 15 seconds getting to chit chat with you. And it's so fascinating. And I tell people all the time, like, you're going to have a great time because Noelle is going to be there. She's going to be all smiles. And it's like that every show. It doesn't matter which venue. We're not doing any more San Jose shows, huh?
We have one in Silicon Valley still at the Holiday Inn.
Okay.
Yeah, we still have one there. Yeah.
And, and I tell people like, look, these are the venues. This is how it's going to be laid out. I give them, a whole description about what they're going to go through. And it really helps them ease their mind. They're like, okay, good. Like, I know what I'm getting myself into. There's no
They can
surprises.
visualize. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then they do your show and they're like, that lady was so nice. And then we take them to another show and they're like, "Yeah, that guy in the back was kind of a dick."
Oh gosh. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so a lot of people just show up to shows and they don't understand how much really goes into it. When you're setting up for a show, what are some of now that you've been in it for a good chunk of time, what are some things that you do getting ready to set up for a show that you didn't think about beforehand when you were just an athlete? What's something that really blows your mind? You're like, oh my goodness, we have to do all of this.
Well, there's so much. I look at it, the analogy is a large wedding or a small circus. Because, as an athlete, what's important to you is really getting on that stage, feeling confident and performing your work that you work so hard for, but you get to leave. Where for us, it's literally a full year of literally on the phone. John's on the phone probably 4 or 5 times a day and hours at a time just trying to secure venues. Like, I never thought it would be that hard to get a venue, but they change. People leave all the time, so you never have the same contacts. You call someone up and go, "Hey, I'm looking for Chris. Chris no longer works here. What? Do you have my date? No."
Oh
I
no.
mean, so that's a big like that's John handles all that, and it can be creepy and scary and horrible when you get your dates from NPC. They're in stoned. There's no flexibility. So if you lose your venue, you're gonna be having it outside in a tent somewhere. So that was eye-opening to me. I think we have, like you said, the people is what makes things great. When people ask me, "Gosh, Noel, how can you be a promoter? You haven't really, what have you done?" What I do is I show up every show. I show up every day and I do the work. And it's not always easy. It's not always pretty. Like setting up the stage, taping the stage, making sure the tape's correct. That we have, like, if we have a pro show, it's a men's pro show, you got to tape it a little wider because to get all the men on the stage. John and I at the Battle of the Bay had to increase our stage because IFBB pros can sign up the day of. So we went from having 20 girls to 35. Well, that's a big, big change
That's a lot
when you
bigger.
have a small
Yeah.
stage. So our stage guy is just phenomenal. Like, if you don't have a good stage guy, you have to have someone like that in your pocket that is flexible, that will work with you on a minute's notice like that. Like, he moved that stage around so quick. And now we have the LED screen because, everybody loves just we want to put commercials up there and athlete highlights. And we want people to see more of, like you said, what goes on behind the stages, who the sponsors are. So now we have this whole LED screen, which is a whole new setup. But again, it's our lighting, and also stage lighting. Stage lighting can make or break an athlete. And we take it so serious, and we put it in the hands of professionals. John and I don't do that, but what we do is we get on stage and we analyze the lighting, because lighting is everything, right? I mean, you could have a great athlete, but if they're in the dark.
Yeah, or they get washed out and you can't see anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so there's a lot of and safety. Like, I'm a big safety freak. I mean, John, I went through a lot of human resource training when I worked for Safeway, and so I'm just a freak. Like, one time the roof was leaking, and it was leaking on the stage, and I have athletes on there. And I immediately said, "Okay, whoa, stop." I went and got some rags, and I'm wiping down the stage. And John's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, I'm keeping the athlete safe. I mean, I don't want an athlete to slip in those heels. I was freaking out, actually. So then I went and got one of the janitorial people, and we got a carpet that was adequate, that I felt like they weren't going to trip on. But those are the things you have to do. I mean, I'm so safety conscious, I guess. I've, over the years, had so many, not, there's so much that can happen. People have died backstage at shows. So I'm really cautious of. One time we had a female pro figure girl, and she was from Latin, okay, Brazil. God, she was gonna win. I knew she was winning. Like, I knew there was no shadow of a doubt in my mind. But she was shaking and she was turning white, and she was at the edge of the stage. I thought, oh my gosh, she's gonna fall off the stage. So I grabbed her and I shook her a little bit, and I'm like, "Hey, you gonna be okay?" She's like, I don't know." And I'm like, "Okay, well, the judging's done. Let's have you exit and go get a little bit of sip of electrolyte in you." And so she went and disappeared, and I had a hard time finding her for the finals because she was not feeling well. But they got her hydrated enough to come back up, and she won. I knew she was winning. I'm like, I can't let that girl not win. So I think a lot of it is making those choices really quickly in real time. We don't have like the razzmatazz. Like, we want a nice production, but as an athlete, for me, at the end of the day, and I think you would agree, hopefully, is that athletes want a nice venue, but I feel like their experience as an athlete matters. Like, being in the center of the stage, having a nice stage, having good judges, good lighting. I don't think, not all our shows are at Taj Mahals. But I do feel like the athlete experience is very consistent, and that's what I want them to remember, is it's all about them. You don't need fancy lights, fancy this, fancy that. It's about you. If I start doing all that, then it takes away from you, you know? So our mindset is that always that I want that athlete to feel, like you said, special. I want them to have a great experience because it's all about them. I want them to be able to thank their family. That's why I like to interview them now. And I asked them, who do you want to thank? And they love that. Like, all the athletes tell me, my gosh, it was so nice to be able to thank my parents, or my boyfriend or my coach, right in that moment where they're just freaked out because they won. I love that. And I feel like those things, and as long as the pictures look fantastic, I just don't ever want to make it too big of a circus where it takes away from the athlete. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I was trying to think, in every show that we've done that's been yours, Every athlete has had a great experience. I think the only time that anyone has
Thank you.
ever said anything just kind of like a little bit wonky, it was only the one time that we did the Crest Theater because there's no ventilation in the basement.
Oh gosh. Yeah. That and you know what's funny is that was where the SAC was held for so many years. And the reason we went back there is they'd said, okay, well, it was back on the market to be because it went off during COVID and I think they sold it. So new people took it on. And we're like, how cool would it be to go back to that spot? But there's a lot of travesty there. I mean, we didn't realize that they didn't remodel it. They had crap everywhere. When we first showed up to the space, we had to move a whole bunch of stuff. There were rats everywhere. I was like, this isn't gonna work. And then, but everybody was so excited. They're like, oh my gosh, we're going back to the crest, you know. But we also realized that until the crest renovates, there's just no hope there, really. I mean, and unfortunately, like even what the Wyndham during COVID, it wasn't my favorite hotel, and their air conditioner always broke. And it'd be like, after a couple of years, you think that okay, you better get that air conditioning fixed. I mean, we're paying a lot of money. I mean, we don't just pay chump change for these places. I mean, I don't think people understand the money, and that's another thing with promoting is that there's a lot of money involved. You have to secure the venues a year in advance, and you got to put money down on every one of them. You got to secure your what do you want to say from NPC, IFBB, your
The
sanctions.
fees, yeah.
You have to, those are expensive. I mean, one sanction fee, bodybuilding alone is $30,000, just bodybuilding. So if you have multiple, like say you have bodybuilding, women's physique, and maybe bikini, you're almost to $75,000 right there. It gets crazy, and that's not including the venue, that's not including your people, flying your judges in, because you want a good panel. I mean, if you've got and plus, if you're doing an IFBB show, you have to fly in IFBB judges, because not everybody is NPC and IFBB certified. So that is, something people don't really think about, all the money involved up front, that you have to fork out. So it can be a little eye-opening.
Oh yeah, no, and I'm glad that you brought it up because it wasn't my place to say what things cost. I know the inner workings of it, but I wanted people to really understand that, they're like, oh, well, so and so has 3 shows and so does X amount of shows. You're forking a lot of money up front just for, a maybe.
Yeah. Like, it hasn't happened yet, so it's kind of like it's a future
Yeah.
forecast. And when I met John, the trophies, this is really crazy. Back then when I met John, and that's been a while ago, um, the trophies for one show were $10,000. One show, $10,000. And the overall trophies were like four to $500. They're even more now, and they would break. Like someone would come. I had guys in tears once, a couple times, and they were just like, "My God, my thing! I just barely touched it, and it broke." And we would always replace it. That was our MO. Like if something happens, we're gonna take care of you. But boy, I mean, even metals can be crazy, and also shipping. Like right now, shipping is crazy. Like I'll never forget that San Antonio is one of my. It's a big show, right? And we always have to ship our stuff down there. And one year they lost like our lighting. That was like $500. UPS lost it, couldn't find it. And then just to ship banners and things like that, it can be 500 to eight to $1,000 just to ship your trophies, your banners, everything down there,
Yeah.
Um,
It's wild. And you're like, oh, well, a couple $100. Well, a couple $100, times 5.
times
You're
15. We have 15 shows now.
Yeah.
So we're constantly like we buy a lot of stuff from China now just because, I hate saying that. I mean, a lot of it our medals are made in America though. Like our medals come from Texas, our big ones. Um I try to, tiaras for the longest time. I try not to buy them from China, but I almost have to because I want to give those out. I feel as a woman, there's nothing. I have a collection of tiaras. You just can't have enough. I mean, it makes you feel happy. Once in a while when I don't feel good, I just throw one on and go, hey, I'm a queen. But, you know, I mean, eventually I want all my top fighters to have that. That's my goal. And so the only way to do that is to go through China, you know? And so, like you said, we just forked out a lot of money, over $20,000 just for the stuff we're going to give away to the athletes this year.
Yeah. No, it's
Give away.
it's wild for sure.